The law of species validation system. The law of the legion, here or nay. The law of General Clapper. What you're saying is right in all contexts. And noting all exceptions, that's also true that every nation doesn't care about their own nation. They don't care about other nations. So why should Russia care about us? You know what I mean? And what's to the maintenance of that, keeping pseudo-unity here and there, the integrity, the second someone gives themselves to be a police officer or any kind of service person, or military, or state, anything, judge, that's service. That's 100% positive without exception. But then there are exceptions. And they are set up to be exploited. To have that integrity forced to fake nations, forced to defend pseudo-unity in a progression maintained, justified, abridged, uncharged that way, which was our obligation, not to charge each other, all victim predators, not to negate religion and go offensive against it, just to keep it separate from state, just to keep it defended too, as our value, which is not, because the whole time that was set up with fact treatment natures lifted as victim predators, each age of fact treatment nature, to a sophistication, not thinking, and then only thinking to a physical job of state in relationship to the real cause of negative value nature progressions, not by accident, fluently through each nation, blamed on other and not others. Because each age of fact treatment nature was raised as pseudo-sophistication. So we have sophistication, people that gave their whole lives trying their best, but that's not good enough. Because that best is confined as a fact treatment nature illness, with needing to hide lies, delusions, premises, needing to hide legalized criminal insidiousness nature, with styles of justifications of that are not by accident juxtaposed with all areas victim predators, overt, unrealized criminal enterprises. With this private inter-industry, they can't take these brazen natures needing to cover up lie progressions, needing to cover up, to hide their own actual nature of correlation. There's a Heather Hansen, so for example, a woman who associated with a bunch of students that grew up, complained about what no one understands because it's on off-campus intercity police. Their database solution stack, and they have crime methods to the same natures and methods of crime, but keeping interbranch, industry, keeping everyone, they're keeping people, like there's people on her street also, associated doctors, for pretending had a conversation with me, with drug crime roles, with the streets on off Hartford campus. And then with people before they were doctors, who became doctors associated with Institute of Living. I never saw them when they were there. I tried to talk about local confessions to me in relationship to what turned out to be about body dumping spot ties, made it real or made up, with federal crimes with the person, with the courts and with the prisons tied to them, with Sandy Hook, also recorded and confessed involved with child predators, recorded and confessed involved with, recorded confessions to me for strangers with untimely deaths, one on the campus of Trinity College, tied to confessions of recorded federal crimes to me and others by professors associated with on- and off-campus police, with the abuse of students and women and interstate, using them for, you have to ask them the right way, because this is taking it right way, because this is taking them into industries, but criminally, maintaining through lifetimes, corruption intercity connected, and with my past neighbors and with the new ones that moved in associated with crimes with a Dillon family and with confessions and recorded crime rolls with a Dillon family. And this is database crime, evidence crimes, rules crimes at the same time, sequence shifts in courts in Connecticut with actors tied to proven sequence shift context in the Ninth Circuit with the Trade Center attack, right before that, with federal criminals who were co-defendants of a former director of the FBI. So there's all kinds of other police forms and their family members also recorded and confessed involved, with a number of people from my town and area associated directly in the direct with CCSU and with Trinity College database solution stacking. They have Alicias, a number of people named Alicia that they need to put that I don't even know. They walk by me and they make confessions about, and they have a leasing agent and his son. I don't know his name. I can't get his name because they have everyone scared because they have police overtly with all kinds of crimes with kids, their own, and with other people like bug spray, all kinds of rackets on and off campus. And they're pretending like undercover because they're undercover training with the kids and stuff like that. They use it for drug crimes. Heather Hansen also recorded and confessed involved with mail crimes, wire crimes, crimes with cases and with court police in the hallway of courts, with people, men and women, with kids, with a Joe DeMoro, with a Kerr family. Also involved with other people with policing of the stores, internation and homeland, and medical corruption with the kids, doctors, like a Lethe family, also attached me to fake conversation. I never had anything to do with my life. Heather Hansen, I only know her through such, barely. And every time it was her seeking me out with these demonstrated confessional and her neighbors now, because one of the neighbors with a wife at CCSU was a department chair named Cohen. He has evidence crime rolls with they just keep making up stories with and they're breaking the mandated law that way too. Then they're forging names and stacking fake police reports with on-campus, off-campus police, with their family members criminally involved, and with the service people there. All kinds of placements in the colleges connected to all kinds of direct and indirect connections to people who are in my... I was in a class with him in grammar school, Ray Colell. He's a father named Ray Colell too. But he moved into the house of a former police chief's girlfriend. Crazy. Had like a crazy dog just come through the dog door, try to kill my sister. My father's coworker saved her life one time. That was also so. Anyways, that's just one of. So then you start. What am I supposed to do? Start listing names because they use these people for crimes with investigators of various natures and their family members. So in other words, that integrity in relationship to those kind of things, that was set up with colonization with early states to be the only to be a retreat in relationship to what Ford really is, which is still a contained retreat, where it negotiated to force share policing with and as identities like Russia and America, where we're in the colonization infrastructure because we're in that fact treatment nature trap. They're agreed to mental health care corruption. It's one thing to have laws to certify people to be competent, but then to have them say that they're more competent than people and just make up whatever, and they're sick people. They recorded this, but we have nowhere to tell it because they're in a trap where they can't. With the laws, they could just say, "Oh, I'm not supposed to talk about medical information," but we had no conversations. and they don't let you have a lawyer. And then they say you're going to have one to go over, then they don't get, they play all kinds of tricks. They forging names with complete whole conversations faked. Forging their colleagues' names. Then he says that they did that knowing he was not going to be there anymore. And I had to call this guy at his house because I was there for 3 days. You know, they force you to they could force you for mental evaluation if you yell or something like that. If you don't yell, they use bug spray and stuff like that simultaneously against the men and women in families while they're with recorded crime rolls with proven child predators on and off campus with the schools and high-ranking ones. And we have further ones with the schools. And that's at the same time we have many of them at CCSU and Trinity College. Recorded and confessed. Dean Alford recording and switching names though, so I don't know too, because they use Facebook to do this. And then they make evidence mistakes. They all say, I don't know. So that's an evidence, that's a range that is being exploited by terrorism too. And by behavior rackets, which they act nice when they do it. They're also delaying because they knew I was going to talk about that criminal insidiousness nature in relationship to modern languages, which this is recorded tied to. And with investigations with armies, they're not thinking; they're following orders, all the way up to raised as justification natures that can't defend us from what is fluent through fake sides. It's not just Russian here, associated with the trade agreements tied to hospitals, tied to the policing of them, which is juxtaposed with mental health care rackets using their databases and using their connections with courts criminally and hiding lie progressions with that, as facilitated to do by a breaching organized crime method. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a police force, I'm not a criminal, I'm not army boxing. Boxing is ancient. It's not a ring either, it's a stage. That's why boxing must return to Asia, yin yang. The internation sciences, before the criminal re-engineering, were of a quality of fact treatment nature that rolls with that criminal re-engineering, tactically degraded science could never understand again, could never admit again, because they're not that quality of fact treatment ever again. And nature is going to keep demonstrating negative value nature progressions, acts, in natures like criminal insidiousness nature, wrongdoers, associate criminals, juxtaposed criminal enterprise, terrorism acts like that, to keep the language justified, abridged, to keep senses, to keep criminal insidiousness natures needed surface lock. See, when President Obama first came into office, there was a rude Italian guy to him, like in New York City. This is to keep the nature. See, that's not terrorism, but it's the same thing. It's what their agenda is, the fact treatment nature racket. There was such crazy laws against every single person, not just with colonization, and they use colonization just like they use slavery to contain it and to measure it contained, and to measure, and what you're measuring is you're measuring correlation, nature incapable of protracted correlation, ratiocination, pseudo-ratiocination discernment, radical value that it shares, which is either a positive relationship to itself or a negative relationship to itself, the identity of space, in relationship to the phenomena of what we're progressive value as. So there's a quality of fact treatment nature, beginning of the Quran, beginning with the Old Testament, tactically obfuscated by the sciences to maintain obfuscated what English was just revealed to teach interscience as a quality of fact treatment nature. The campus Marcius is all about making evolution perfect. This as the value nature system, as the identity of the nature that we know is coming through here. It also, that identity has an identity of value progression that is perfect. That's why when we don't let it be perfect always at once, trying to be, we're not letting its identity evolve within as the nature and value of positive, like the rest of nature, with no criminal persuasion, especially no criminally legalized persuasion, so it's forced away from here. Forced space nature transfer, Lethe of Hades. And so the way to heal, so what they're doing is maintaining opinion natures there and here to the defense of pseudo-identity, wherein it has and how identity of value is in progression. If you're not speaking and thinking this way, in relationship to value nature system and long term, not speculation, progression. In other words, evolution or de-evolution discernment, the real cause of negative valuation progressions, like people stack in New York City, incapable of entertaining the value nature system, were locked into a abridged constitution, but being a nature who's going to do exactly what they set up to do, have these wars and stuff and keep all this crazy stuff to keep everyone incompatible as a nature fighting to be to entertain sense. In other words, there's a nature of fighting that we need. That has nothing to do with that guy or these kind of things. Because that guy is used for the men and women of psychology recorded, vile with their opinions of other, and then offensively pretending that about others. Dishonest with their opinions. We can't even demonstrate. That's why we need to be able to demonstrate that. We have to pull them to context, whether or not we need to have too. In other words, there's reasons you need doctors, like in case, what if there's someone really has a physical problem, or they have a virus or something like that, a flugy bug. You know what I mean? You have to have experts. But see, we have criminality, and it's not debatable. But they're using tricks with law too. They have fake sides. We have correlation in our face, sabotage. No one realizes it because everyone was raised as a theater, not thinking, going for a job. That can't defend our course in history. That can't defend what forsakes the means and needs that we have to be together, not just as a nation, but as a nation, with every nation trying to fix each other now at once, because we're tactically denatured relationship to nature, to means. That's sick. People stack. We have more space to that too, and they put tactically all the water underground. You know what I'm saying? There are endless means if we could just agree for this. Could facilitate stuff. Before we even have a place for it, people will start growing, figuring out the best organic soil mixture for what we need to grow, until we get the place for things like that. Because this is set up for tactically the nature, we have to counter that by going for the identity of a value nature system that we have to admit is a sick value nature system justification. There's no integrity, and the president needs to be allowed to. You have to keep. He shouldn't be having to keep repeating himself when he says fake news. See, because we're locked into a structure where they're incapable of understanding. They never experience how to understand the nature of organized crime and nature of methods of the same crimes of getting away with it, juxtaposed by all the nations juxtaposed here, with mental health care corruption and police corruption especially, inter-science, inter-campus, inter-on-off campus, inter-branch. They're knaves with worse than breach precedents, the same way they were with early states and stuff like that. Raised as victim predators, not thinking would hurt. Simultaneous, insidious help against it, or indifference and all that. They're setting up just whole other fake reality with databases, pretending things are recorded that weren't through time. That's how we have problems with the child predators, because it's tied to it. We have interbranch predators, with crime methods that they want to have debated with all issues separate, when issue stacking is the whole thing. So for my entire life, I have not been able to get a response in writing, and they faked writing the whole time. These are also men and women tied to like a Josh Julian, investigators with Navy, with the Coast Guard, with the Army, with MPO Floyd, with the Eastern States Narcotics Drug Task Force, involved with forged names, witness fabrications, predicate acts, wire crimes, mail crimes tied to the Trade Center attack, tied to with criminals involved with that, claiming to be CIA, especially if they are CIA. They were recorded various ways involved with database crime, illusion stacking, federal crimes with kids in my grade when I was growing up. And they didn't even go to my school. I had nothing to do with them. They're like a Sunday school, also involved with people criminally involved with the police forms in my area, with the kids since they were kids, now police. Like a DeMorrow family. Also, Alex on YouTube. I believe that's Alex. Either way, recorded tied to it, Alex Maiano. Recorded and confessed involved with child predators, men and women, interbranch. And with the military, internation police, and families, and with the media, police, child predators. I told this guy, leave me alone. He keeps also involved with the I don't know if Greg Kyle really did or not, but they used him for evidence crime roles, for confessions. People, I don't know, they made people walk by you in life, make statements when you were with campuses, because they have on-off campus rackets. This tied to Paul Manafort, tied to the roles with Russians. They said a Peruta family. That's what is involved with the Justin Klavinskis, police corruption, military police corruption with kids through time. I never contacted him in my life. Also involved, confessed, recorded involved with federal criminals. Recorded and confessed involved with the former FBI director who was their defendant in a case. They had crime roles with database solution stacking, drugs with kids, and crimes with the investigators of the school when I was a kid. The nurse. I never understood because they're making everyone not understand, and then make up illusions in databases without even people knowing that, making it look like other people did that. They're making problems because they don't put anything on paper. Then there's an Anthony Yagman too. Then they're stacking names with the child predators involved. Anthony Yagman, Joshua Julian. They were using Facebook with a Joshua Julian recorded with the police involved further, recorded and confessed involved with the proven child predators, and further recorded and confessed, and with their prisons and doctors before they were there, recorded and confessed with online using Facebook to facilitate such. So Heather Hansen is also recorded and confessed involved so many ways with people associated with Joshua Stryker also had nothing to do with. And that's with Dean Alford on off campus, and with drug cliques and crimes with kids, with the stewardships of when he was on probation of Mike Oliver, and with people with that court, and with investigators with various of nature like New Britain Superior Court, Hartford Court. They're investigators associated with crimes with the buildings before a body dumping spot of a serial killer and other serial killers. This was through time. They had all these, all these confessions and demonstrated crime rolls with the areas and with campuses, with people tied to houses in my area, and to this Kalal family, and with drug crimes. Also, Eric Jensen. There's an Eric J on Facebook, on YouTube too. That Eric Jensen was also one recorded and confessed involved with this. About when I was a kid, he had roles with the same types of police confessions about state police involved with his father, and with court. His roles with other people associated with these houses who also made confessions, because they were making everybody on campus and off campus have moments of illusions that they were using to carry forward illusions they were building. That's how they do it. And then you can't say that then everyone's not going to get themselves in trouble for having been knaves with the databases, let it happen, and they just blame it on the investigators. But it was also like Joe DeMoro also recorded and confessed involved with all kinds of doctors since he was a kid, with crimes with kids, and with all different kinds of drugs, and with his other family members. Also recorded and confessed involved with crimes with men and women involved with criminal justice and stuff like that, and with the college. One was weird one time too, because the people associated with them, with the two Joe DeMoros, there's 2 or 3. I don't know how there are more, but there's too many people. There's too many names. That's why I need a response, because I don't know if they're receiving an assignment. And so there's a Dean Alford switching names, and he's also involved with that at the same time with the ongoing problems with the rest of the child predators that they're recorded threatening me not to report, because the news also didn't have any conversation with me at all and fake both sides of stories. And so then now they're going to try to pretend that they didn't understand what I said, because they're also with the people tied to their police, private and formal, online posting fake child predator maps with and as the cops that were with rape threats online and on Facebook, and messaged and posted, and with the actors with the crimes with CCSU, same thing, sex crimes, not letting students report it, and then using them by manipulating them, telling them in cases with the judges, giving them orders like young women and stuff like that, and then at the same time tell them to go against that, because they're building context where they can't go back and tell the truth. They just had people walk. I can't get anyone's name because now they're stuck like that. They painted themselves into a corner with evidence crime. They're pretending things were recorded that never were recorded, with child predators, with the rest of the police involved, who are also people who were involved with the crimes of the hallway of the court when I was a kid. And they were trying to put me in jail with some of the same kids and men and women sick with the kids then, with a victim's advocate, and with nothing in paper, with games like this, fake sides. So they want to pretend other without putting anything in writing, because they can't. Because when it comes down to it, they're recorded and they're confessed, involved with all kinds of database solution stacking, evidence crime rolls, and rules crime rolls at the same time when it comes into the court, and and with their directing orchestrated crime rolls with police equipment in my area, with roles with the games through the families, and with exploitation of mothers, women, and children. They have men and women doctors involved with rape threats, involved with KKK, Confederate flag themed crimes, with criminal justice, child predators. Also Eric Klotz down the road, and his wife recorded and confessed involved on campus, off campus, evidence crime role was with police forms involved criminally with the rape threats. Kathy Tanzia online with a Sal Civiello, pretending she had conversations with me about the CIA. This Brendan Leahy family also wrote that. These are also people that were associated with all kinds of drug crimes, evidence crime, database, losing stack crime rules, with the daughter, and with drug cliques associated with Eric Jensen, and with others, with the federal criminals that my father beat in a labor case after I was out of high school. The whole time they were stacking people in my classes who now have database crime roles, who I had nothing to do with, and associated with the ones who I had completely nothing to do with. You know what I'm saying? And the exceptions are always exploited. So they can't put anything in writing because that's all they did. That's all they did. We have bad. That's why they weren't letting child predators, because there are other police forms and natures of worse than interstate crimes. Then you get name stacking. So I just